Guys, how are you? Hope you all are doing good, and I'm Solit Hassan, your faculty, and I welcome you again to our fifth module, that is Contract and the Business World. What's the fifth module? We are here for our fifth module. Contract and the Business World. Contract and the business world. Guys, till now we have seen lot about the contract, all the valued essentials, your technicalities, in fact what to do and not to do, and what is the legal definition of the term contract. And so after all, this position we can say that it's a non-denying fact that contract has influenced all aspects of our life, whether be it a personal life or a professional life or an economic perspective of our life, whether be it a trade or industry. Everything is undoubtedly dominated by this contract, and so as the business world too. Now in today's module, our focus will be what is the benefit of the contract in this business world, what is the benefit, in fact the benefit, and what kind of effect these contracts are having in this business world. At this point, I would like to quote one economic law expert, Sir Richard A. Posner. Richard, you might not have heard the name of Richard A. Posner, but guys, he is a big famous economic law expert, and even I happen to read it somewhere. In fact, I don't remember, I just googled it out. I saw this Richard A. Posner statement and I liked that statement, so I would like to quote it here. He said that in his economic analysis of law, he said there is basically, he pointed out three benefits which the Contract Act is having on an individual, on economic life of an individual. And what's that? The very first thing, let me sit and tell you. The very first thing he said, that it enables the Contract Act. I'm not talking about contract right now, I'm talking about the law of contract, dealing with these contract perspective. This Contract Act at the very first instance, it enables a individual person to exchange goods and services effectively and to maintain their incentives. Okay. Now the second point, what he said that Contract Act also saves the cost and time of economic transactions. Now you will ask me, ma'am, how the act is going to save the time and cost of economic transaction? Then guys, let me tell you that which is the law dealing with the rules and regulations or the terms of the contract. Obviously it's your Contract Act basically, and the other laws as well, but basically it's Contract Act. The major portion of the contract is covered by the Contract Act only. So when there are few principles, in fact the most of the principles are spelled out in the Contract Act, which deals with the terms of the contract. Now whatever the things which are expressly spelled out in the Contract Act, they are not required to be negotiated again by the parties. Look, already everybody who is entering a contract is supposed to know the ifs and buts of the Contract Act, so they won't negotiate at least on that particular term which is already dealt in the Contract Act. So it's going to save the time and cost of economic transaction as well. Now the last point, the third point which he mentioned is, and that's a very obvious point, that the Contract Act also alerts the parties. Alerts about what? Alerts about the troubles which the parties to contract might have faced in earlier history, in the past, while entering the contract or making the contract on that particular issue. So if you know something that this very term, entering the contract this way, might has already caused a trouble in the past to the parties concerned. So obviously, if you know something, the effect of something, you're going to create the contract more effectively and more intelligently so that you could avoid any potential pitfall. So this was what Sir Richard A. Posner has highlighted about the economic benefits of the Indian Contract Act. So now we will. So guys, this was what Richard A. Posner has said about the benefits of economic perspective of the Contract Act. Now, what benefit a contract can have in the business world? Just let us have a quick view of that. In business world, the commercial contracts, the contracts are mostly in written form, even though even the verbal agreements are equally valid, as we have seen in the previous modules while we were discussing with the types of contract on the basis of creation, that even a verbal agreement, a verbal contract is as good as written one. But due to the very nature of the commercial contracts, the business contracts, it is desirable by the parties, and in fact it is quite practical that parties must prefer the contract in writing. And in fact, it is in practice that the contracts or the legal documents in this business class or business companies, they enter it in a written form. Now, what happens when a contract is in written form? Guys, when it is in written form, obviously it's going to cover, that document is going to cover the entire ambit of the business relationship, the scope of the business as well, and also it highlights the risk involved to both of the parties in that particular contract. And also it says, it talks about, it highlights about the interests, rights and obligation of both the parties and so on. So, everything is made clear in that very document, so that when you sign the document, that you are presumed, the law presumes that you know everything. You are not allowed to later down the road put a claim or say that I thought something like this, I misunderstood it, I didn't find anything like that. If you have signed the paper, law presumes that you know it. There's only one thing, two things important. Either you know or you don't know at all. So once you sign the paper, you cannot have a claim of that you don't know. If you are a literate person, and you're not blind, unless and until you're not an illiterate person and you're not blind, law presumes that you have read the document properly and then you have signed it. Okay guys, so this was about a little bit about the contract being written and why. Now, for a new beginner or a person who's going to have a startup, or whoever is going to start their business, it might be, they might feel uncomfortable or a little bit of scared while starting with something legal. But guys, believe me, there is nothing scary and there is nothing very to be uncomfortable when you are signing a legal document. It is something which would make you more confident and more professional, because it's not always that, there is a mindset that if something is legal, it's more complicated. But, being legal doesn't always mean there is a complication, and it can be even in a plain language. The language of the document shall be such that it must be clear to you. You means the party who is going to sign that agreement. That should not be something very legal and complicated terms. And even if the format is such of the legal documents that they some legal terms are used, so there are experts to explain you those terms. So don't worry for that. And what matter that you, and in fact both the parties who are going to sign the contract, they must be aware about the nature, about the terms, the meaning, about the certainty of that particular agreement, what you are going to sign. when you're going to enter in something, you must know what is the interest of that particular agreement you are going to have, and what is the effect it may have upon your interest. So guys, it's not only a minor or a person with unsound mind and the person disqualified by law, who is not, the law presumes that they are not capable of entering into an agreement, because the minor or an unsound person is not able, the mindset of that person is not able to understand, to get through the terms of the contract properly. Yes, even though these are the categories which law specifies or which law presumes to be incapable, but guys, practically, if I say, many of us are in fact incapable. At times we are incapable of understanding the terms of the agreement. So there is nothing to be, nothing to hesitate. If you don't understand the terms of the contract, just get through the just have a legal expert opinion, and then understand. What matters is that you must understand the terms of the contract. It's not only that particular minor or unsound person, but even sometimes we can also be incapable of understanding the terms of the agreement. So don't sign those agreements unless and until you doubt even a single clause of that particular agreement, because when you sign that paper, it makes you binding and enforceable against you. So guys, this was about something which you must be aware before entering into an agreement. And now we can see that whether be it all kind of the business contracts is common for all sort of industry. It's not confined to any particular industry, that look, it's an IT industry and so the contracts are meant for that particular industry only. Every country, every company or every business enters into certain kinds of contract as per their requirements and as per their nature of business. So the most common examples of a business contract is your contract of insurance. Contract of insurance is of one kind. And then the other one is, contract of insurance also has certain varieties of contract, like insurance of health, life, and auto, and also we'll be dealing just not in details, but a brief, just quick facts about these contracts. And then also other kind of contract we can see is your contract of franchising, agreement of franchising, dealership, and distribution. And then we can have the business companies or business world can also have the contract of merger, acquisition, the partnership, venture, joint venture, and also the licensed manufacturing is also of one kind. And then they can have the very common contracts like sale, deed, mortgage, pledge, licensing, and all these type of property transfers are also day-to-day life entered by the companies or the business offices. And so these, and also contract of for tangible and intangible property rights, we have IPR contracts like copyright, patent, and trademark, and so on. So the list is it can't be numbered. I cannot make you count this on fingers. This is varieties of contract in this business world. And so we'll just have a view, we'll just talk about few of basic contracts, few of known contracts which are more prevalent in the business world. So the first one I'll be talking about is, so guys, right now we are going to give examples, few illustrations, few kinds of, in fact, business contracts which me and you know in practice in the business world today. So the first one, like franchising, dealership, and distribution. All, whether it's a franchising or a distribution or a dealership, all are in fact a channel of the business industry. And there's not much difference if I talk about for us. We are from non-management background, non-business world. So for us, there's not very much technical difference in these three, whether it be a franchising or a dealership or a distribution, it is somehow all are entering into agreement with the main company, just to what? Just to resell their product and make it reach to the end users. So now what is as such, guys, look, if franchising agreements are concerned, there is no proper or concrete law dealing with this franchising agreement. So there are bundle of laws which deal with these agreements relatively, like contract act somehow, TPA, your IPR, and so these things. Now dealership is what? Dealership is nothing to be explained. Like when you go to the Voltas or a Hitachi showroom, those are what? Exclusive dealers who have entered into agreement with the main company to deal with their product. And what is this distribution? Distributions are also distributors who enter into agreement with the main company to take their product and disperse it into the market to the stockist and to the other showrooms as well in the market. Then this was about franchising, dealership and distribution. And the next is your very common contract, very usual, with not even the companies or the business tycoons perform, even we, the individuals. So this is the category of the contract of sale, purchase and mortgage and license and lease. This is a common both in a personal world as well as professional world, commercial world. So there's nothing to explain, I feel, about sale purchase. All of us know the technicalities of sale purchase or a gift deed and all. So this is a very common thing which everybody knows. Then the next type of contract is copyright, patent and trademark. These are the contracts which we when we studied IPR, intellectual property right law, so we have gone through those: copyright, trademark, patent, geographical design. These things are also the parties who need to get their inventions or rights patented or to have copyright. They enter into agreement with that particular company. So this is also a kind of contract. Now the next and the most common, which most of us are aware and we know, at least even if you are not in the into job or into business but still a student, at least you know about the employment contract, and that is the most common thing. So what area employment contract covers? Guys, employment contract covers a vast it has a vast ambit. It covers the rights of the both employer and employees, of course, the mode of payment, the terms of the contract, other terms of the contract, the code of conduct as well of that company, the payment, amount of payment, and something if required to trigger that very payment, your basic criteria, your variable criteria, your Mediclaim criteria, and other benefits which the company is going to give you, provide you, and also about the notice period in case you opt to leave for the job, and other few other clauses as well, that during your job term you're not supposed to this, you're not supposed to that, you're not supposed to do contract with any other company. So all sort of things. How do you come to know about this company? If you go for a job, these things about your job. How? When you sign your employment contract, so everything is mentioned over there, and you are supposed to go through all these and then sign that particular agreement, so that later on you cannot deny that, sorry, I was not aware about this term. So this is what employment contract is, and many more things are there which we can only understand if we go through that particular contract. Now the next one, I would like to tell you about the insurance contract. That is also, guys, very common. when there is a life, I told you in last module also that something unwanted can happen, and we cannot understand, avoid or stop from happening some that unwanted situation. We cannot prevent protect that particular unwanted happening to happen in our life. So what can we do? That is not in our hand. What is in our hand? Of course, we can safeguard ourselves against those happening. So how can we safeguard? Obviously, we can get ourselves insured through an insurance company. So most of us, if not us, our parents must have got ourselves, our property, and many other, our health, our vehicles insured. So basically, if we talk about the insurance contract, four very common kind of contract we can see is insurance of health, insurance of your life, insurance of your permanent disability in case you have, and insurance of the auto vehicles, automobiles. So what is that? Insurance of auto is that very common. You cannot bring your new car on road unless until you have got your car or any of the vehicle insured. Insurance is a mandate. Then your health insurance is not a mandate, but your today's situation is such that it has become a mandate. Law has not mandated it, but by the very conditions of our life, today's lifestyle, it has become a mandate. Health benefits, they are going, the hospital bills and all, the expenses of the hospitals are going to be covered by your insurance company in case you have insured your health. And then we have your life insurance. Where comes the life insurance? Life insurance contracts are required that in case there is the death of the insured party, then the left behind, if the left behind, like the wife or the other dependents, they are taken care, they are being compensated, or insured amount is given to those particular dependent if you have opted to insure your life. And then there is insurance of permanent disability, which most of us think that this insurance is not at all required, because already we are having health insurance. But guys, this is also an insurance agreement which has a little peculiar kind, and many of the journals in America, they have mentioned that one must get this insurance of their permanent disability insurance, because according to their survey, 1 out of 4 workers are likely to get disabled and to be deployed from their capacity to work even before their retirement age. So it's better you get this kind of insurance also, because even though if your health is insured, your health bills and your hospital bills are covered by the insurance company, but what about the daily expenses? If you are permanently, God forbid, if some of us are permanently disabled, then what? Who is going to take care of our daily expenses? So in case this such kind of insurance, the insurance company is going to cover all the daily expenses as well. So guys, this was about the insurance contract. And then we have advertising, sponsorship, and marketing. When you see a television program, any news, we get to see lots of advertisements. Now, how do media channels provide this advertisement? Have you ever thought? Do they have, willingly or voluntary or gratuitous service they are going to give you? No, there is always an agreement between that particular company whose advertisement is brought onto the particular media channel. So it's all, advertising is also a kind of agreement between the company and the channel or the mode of media, either a newspaper or anywhere where it is published. Then we have sponsorship. Most of us guys, we have watched IPL, and to the there we can find plenty of sponsorships like Byju's or we have seen Voda and many Excite and many companies, they are sponsoring those sports event. And so this is also for sponsorship event, these companies have to enter into an agreement with that particular event. There is some sort of revenue sharing event between the company and the event, depending on the nature of that particular agreement. So guys, this was sponsorship. And the next one is, marketing. Marketing is what? Marketing is actually a designing a strategy where there's an agreement to design the product, the packaging and the cover, wrapping, whatever, these kinds of things. So all sort of things, even though that comes, the pamphlets or the billboards, these kinds, they don't, somebody not just put it here by themselves. There is an agreement even for that, and then that is brought to your knowledge, that is published. Then we have partnership, joint venture, merger, acquisition. Most of the time we hear news like Byju's have acquired White Hat Junior, and Voda has merged with Idea. So, and they are with new brand VI. What's that? See, obviously this is what we are talking about. Merger and acquisition. Voda has merged with Idea, and Byju's have acquired White Hat Junior. Now guys, this is not only about Byju's or White Hat or whether Voda or Idea, but many of the IT firms, they are also in habit of acquiring small and big companies all over the globe who are into business of artificial intelligence and data science. So guys, these are not enough, but still just an idea. I was trying to give you an idea about what kinds of contract being practiced today and what the event is happening of acquisition or merger with Voda or Idea, what's all about. That is also there is an agreement, a big agreement behind all those merger, acquisition and advertising and sponsorship, everything. There is an agreement behind that event. Now, so this was